Everybody sit right here.
Now, help yourself.
If the meeting had come to order, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Lyda?
Here.
Alderman Adams?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Skelton?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Bryant?
Here. We can stand for the invocation. Please,
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for such a beautiful Easter Sunday and for this time that reminds us of the many blessings and graces that come with the opportunity we have every day to begin anew. We come to you refreshed and ready to do your will in our lives. We take comfort in knowing that you are with us always, and we are grateful for your unconditional love. We offer up to you now the prayers in the hearts of all present tonight and the prayers of those who have asked us to pray for them. We hold in our hearts the brave men and women serving our country, and we ask that you would bless them and protect them from harm. May you continue to bestow your blessings on this city, its citizens, its leaders, and its employees. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
we got a Boy Scout group here, and I was going to let them stand up and tell us what your name is and what badge you're working on. Start on the left side. 93 both on. Councilman Smith, alumni.
My name is Hoover, and I am working on citizenship and community.
Okay.
My name is Grace, and I'm working on citizenship and community.
My name is Henry, and I'm working on citizenship in the community. My name is Matthew Green, and I'm working on youth and community. My name is James Parker, and I'm working on youth and community.
My name is Daniel Massey, and I'm working on citizenship and community.
My name is Jim Ramsey, and I'm working on citizenship and community.
My name is Heidi Tremans, and I'm working on citizenship and community.
We're glad to have you fellows with us tonight.
Gentlemen, are you gentlemen with Troop 93?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that old Philmont has been framed and hanged accordingly in the Scout Hall?
You're too young to know.
We need to know about old Philmont. I met old Philmont on a number of occasions.
Okay. We have several proclamations tonight. First of all, we have Jim Hughes here with his daughter Sarah, if they can come up. See Jim Hughes. Come back to him at the end, Denise, if you'll remind me. Mr. Walker, we have Jamie Mitchell Natter, Mrs. Alabama here. Not Mrs. Natter. I wish. From your family. Mr. Walker.
Yes, sir.
Second, if you will. Mr. Lockhart, take your direction to pay here, Mr. Presentation.
Mr. President, this is a proclamation for Mrs. Alabama America 2014, Jamie Mitchell Nutter. Whereas the Mrs. Alabama America pageant is one of the supporting state contests that works with Mrs. America pageant. And whereas Mrs. Nutter resides with her husband and 3 children in Hoover and is employed by Hoover City Schools. And whereas the platform of Mrs. Nutter is to promote digital citizenship, a concept which helps teachers, technology leaders, and parents to understand what students, children, technology users should know to use technology appropriately. And whereas Mrs. Nutter was crowned Mrs. Alabama America on March 29, 2014, going on to compete in the Mrs. America pageant in Tucson, Arizona on August 29, 2014. And now, therefore, be it hereby proclaimed by Mayor Gary Ivey and members of the Hoover City Council, their congratulations to Jamie Mitchell Nutter, Mrs. Alabama America 2014. On behalf of the citizens of Hoover, We further express to her our deep abiding appreciation for the standard of excellence she has set for ladies everywhere during her reign as Mrs. Alabama America, and wish her the best of luck and continued success. Presented on this, the 6th day of April of this year, congratulations, Jamie Mitchell Nutter, Mrs. Alabama America 2014, signed by Mayor Ivy and as well as Council President Wright.
Each of you received a copy of these minutes from the March 16th meeting, the second work session. So I take a motion.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of the minutes as presented without reading.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's approved. Resolution 523715, Mr. Walter.
This resolution awards bid number 3514 for emergency lighting for vehicles to Emergency Lighting by Haynes. Invitations to bid were mailed to 91 vendors as listed on the City of Hoover vendor list, and the invitation to bid was also posted on the city's website. 2 vendors bid on the project. Emergency Lighting by Haynes bid of $88,490.55 was the lowest responsible bid, meeting all the specifications and requirements.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of resolution 5237-15.
Second.
A motion second, any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, Ben, were you able to,
He's in the corner.
were you able to get together with the other bidder and talk about the difference in the qualifications and standards, work out their concerns?
Yes, sir. I spoke with them at length last week, and while he believes he has a product, a better product at a better price, he understands how we came to the decision that we came to, and understood where we were coming from, and not being able to meet the specifications.
Thank you.
Additional questions from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 523815, Mr. Walter.
This resolution rejects all bids responsive to bid number 2-15 for body camera evidence transfer module online storage, as none of the 3 bids received meet the minimum bid specifications and requirements. The bid specifications will be reviewed and updated prior to the city's solicitation of new bids.
Mr. President, I would move to approve the rejection of resolution 5238-15.
Second.
I have a motion second, discussion from the council.
Mr. President, was this just due to the bid wasn't written to technical standards, or they just don't have the product you're looking for?
Technical standards is part of the problem, and when we send it back out, we don't think we'll have the issue that we had this time.
Thank you.
Additional comments from the council? Comments from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 523915, Mr. Walter.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a public safety communications tower lease agreement with the Hoover Board of Education for the lease of a tract of land located near Veterans Park for the purpose of occupying, installing, maintaining, and operating a public safety communications tower.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution 5239-15.
Second.
I have a motion second, any discussion from the council?
Does this tower currently exist, or is it going to have to be erected?
It's a brand new tower.
New tower, thank you.
Additional comments from the council?
Chief Burgess, this is just a lease of land though, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
All we're approving tonight is a lease of the land from the school
That is
board.
correct, yes.
And then this tower will be built, and it's something that's coming up
Yes,
later.
that's correct.
Additional comments from the council?
Mr. President, I would also point out that the lease agreement calls for a grand total of $10 a year. So good job negotiating, Chief.
Thank you. We have got
We can get another couple of those if you want. Any comments from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 524015, Mr. Walter.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a standard project resolution with ALDOT for the replacement of existing concrete flumes and the repair of sinkholes on the back slope benches on I-65 north of State Road 119, that's at exit 246, to south of Valleydale Road, which is exit 247.
Mr. President, I move to approve resolution 5240-15.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council? From the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 524115, Mr. Walter.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a standard project resolution with ALDOT for a sidewalk along Preserve Parkway from Sulphur Springs Road to the Preserve Town Center.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution 5241-15.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
Tim, how does this tie in with the overall sidewalk project that we approved 6 or 8 months ago concerning the federal sidewalk project?
There are several projects, several different sidewalk projects that we're currently working on in various stages, Admiral. This is just one of those many sidewalks. It's an 80-20, 20% local match, 80% federal funding project. So it's just one of those.
What's the estimated time of completion of that?
Well, right now it's scheduled for a June letting of this year. It'll probably take anywhere from 4 or 5 months to construct. So hopefully by the end of the year we have it.
Good, thank you.
Additional comments and questions from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bill sidewalks. Resolution 524215, Mr. Walter.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a second amendment to a lease agreement with RMC Investments LLC for the rental of property for the Hoover Police Operations Center located in Space B of Hoover Commons, located at 1615 Montgomery Highway.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of resolution 5242-15.
Second.
I have a motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
Mr. Aldeck, I see the chief popped out. How many years is this extension for?
Do believe 10 years.
10 years? Thank you, sir.
Additional comments from the council? And from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 524315, Mr. Walter.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a supplement to his existing application service provider agreement with SunGuard Public Sector Incorporated to provide for certain professional services, fees, startup fees, and monthly access fees as described in the supplement.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of resolution 5243-15.
Second.
I have a motion is second. Any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? For those of you who might be in first-time attendance, this was all covered at a work session Thursday evening for an hour or so. That's why the discussion seems a little brief to you here. It's been covered at length last Thursday night. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Number 13, we got 4 resolutions in unison, Mr. Walter.
These 52, 44, 45, 46, and 47 are germane. They all relate to contracts regarding upcoming events that will be held at the Hoover Met during this calendar year. And these resolutions authorize the mayor to execute those contracts on behalf of the city.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of resolutions 52, 44, 45, 46, and 47-15.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
Is Erin here? She is. Erin, what is the income to the city from the National Pro Pacific Softball Championship agreement?
There's a rental fee for the, league office, it's $20,000.
And Is there a cost to attend, and who receives those funds?
The league office is gonna manage the event, and they will sell tickets and receive the revenue from that. We will receive additional revenue off the concession sales pursuant.
Thank you.
Additional comments from the council? Any comments from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution's passed. Resolution 524815, Mr. Walden.
This resolution declares property located at 1813 Charlotte Drive and 512 Oakline Drive as public nuisances due to weeds and/or grass pursuant to sections 1167-60 through 67 of the Code of Alabama. The resolution also orders abatement of such nuisances as provided by Alabama law.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of resolution 5248-15.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, for a point of clarification, the picture I have says 1812, while the agenda says 1815. I mean, 1813. Can we get a clarification on which is the true address?
It's 1812.
1812. All right, thank you.
Mr. President, if I may point out also that the second picture in your packet barely shows the front bumper of a car. I happen to live up the street from this home, and I can tell you, our ordinance requires A, a running vehicle, and B, one to have a tag on it. I can tell you this vehicle meets neither of those. So if we could address that as well, I know the neighbors would appreciate it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Mr. Walden, resolutions number 15.
5249 to 5250, I would suggest we take them together. They're both germane. They're having to do with purchases through the National Association of State Procurement Officials. 5249 is a participating addendum master agreement with Cisco Systems Incorporated for the purchase of Cisco data communications product. 5250 is a participating addendum for automatic external defibrillators with Physio Control Incorporated for the purchase of automatic external defibrillators. These items are all purchased through the same procurement cooperative.
Mr. President, I would move for approval resolutions 5249 and 5250-15.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, Chief Wingate, how many defibrillators do you anticipate purchasing?
13.
Thank you.
Additional comments from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Resolution 5251, Mr. Walden.
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute an amendment to the City of Hoover Deferred Compensation Program. The amendment is made to provide that employee plan participants may receive partial lump sum distributions of their plan contributions until such employee's account balance reaches $5,000 or less. At that point, the account must be fully liquidated. This resolution also directs the Human Resources Department to retain a copy of the amendment to the plan for inspection by participants of the plan.
Mr. President, I would move for approval resolution 5251-15.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, anybody here from HR? Have we heard anything from the Employee Advisory Committee on this?
We have not. This is with Polaris. This is the plan that the Employee Advisory Committee selected in June of 2013 to administer the city's deferred compensation plan. So we've not had solicited input on this particular bid.
Is this going to be something of a great surprise to them?
I suppose it could be. It's but this strictly affects those that are retired or otherwise separated who have accounts. It just gives them a third option to receive their funds. At present, there's only 28 retirees who have funds with this company.
But there's no requirement that they take this option. It's just an additional option.
Just an additional option.
It's purely optional, for those who are retired and have funds. It will not impact anybody unless they choose to pursue this option.
I apologize, I wasn't a good person.
That's quite all right.
Any further discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This resolution passes. Have a second reading, ordinance 152268. Mr. Walter.
This ordinance annexes property located at 2929 Monte de Este Drive. The owners of the property are Richard and Margaret Lowe. And this will need a roll call vote.
Mr. President, I would move for the adoption of ordinance number 15-2268.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Annexing a house that was not in Hoover into Hoover and Montefiore. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green? Mr. Leiter?
Aye.
Admiral Latter?
Aye.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Skelton?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Price?
Aye. We have a second reading of ordinance 152269. Mr. Walter.
This is another annexation ordinance, Mr. President. Annexes property located at 1701 Kestwick Drive. The property owners are James and Patricia Levio. This is the second reading in the roll call vote.
Mr. President, I would move for adoption of ordinance number 15-2269.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? All, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Leiter?
Aye.
Admiral Latter? Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Skelton?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye. Have the first reading ordinance 152273, the annual tax levy. Mr. Walter.
This ordinance would provide for the levying of municipal taxes for the city of Hoover and allow for the assessment and collection of such taxes. For the tax year beginning October 1, 2015, there is levied on all property, real and personal, and franchises within the limits of the city of Hoover and subject to taxation of the laws of the state, a general municipal tax of $3.05 on each $100 of the value of such property, which includes a special school tax at the rate of $2.40 on each $100 of the value of such property. That's 24 meals on each dollar of assessed value. It's shown on the books of assessment of the county tax assessor of Jefferson and Shelby counties. The proceeds from which shall be used for public school purposes in the city pursuant to authorization granted in elections held in the city on May 8, 1990, May 12, 1998, and April 27, 2010. And there's a provision for a general city tax at the rate of 65 cents on each $100 of the value of such property. That's 6.5 mils on each dollar of assessed value. As assessed for state and county taxes is shown on the books of assessment of the county tax assessors of Jefferson and Shelby counties, proceeds of which shall be used for the general municipal purposes of the city of Hoover. No action.
Got it. We need a motion on approving ABC application for ARC Hospitality Portfolio 1TRS LLC for the on and off-premise sale of retail beer and table wine at the Hyatt Place, Birmingham. Mr. President, I move for approval of the application.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
President Marshall, do we have any idea who the members of this LLC?
There should be something attached to your ABC application. We printed it out on the state revenue. The back.
It's another corporation. Okay.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Granted. Public hearing to consider request of SFM LLC doing business in Sprouts Farmers Market number 480 for conditional use approval, allow the sale of retail beer and liquor at Sprouts Farmers Market to be located at 5250 Medford Drive, Suite 120, inside the crossings of Hoover Shopping Center. Hoover Investment Partners is the property owner. The property is on C2 Community Business District. Mr. President, I move for approval of the conditional use.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, I think there's a large crowd from the western side of Hoover who may be interested to know this store is opening April 15th. So
samples? As far as I know. Any other further discussion from the council? Any from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Conditional use approved. Need a motion to approve the ABC application.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the application.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. ABC application approved. Public hearing to consider the request of signature homes for conditional use. Approval to allow a clubhouse, pool, and park to be located at Sawyer Trail and Ross Bridge, off of Ross Bridge Parkway. The property is zoned SP Development Corporation, zone PR1 Plan Single Family District.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the conditional use.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion from the council?
Mr. President, anyone here from Signature Home?
Yes, sir.
How does this, compare to the adjacent, subdivision and, swimming pool, the recreation area?
It's comparable in size to the pool at the Hamptons. It's comparable in size to the pool at the Hamptons.
What, there's another one next to it, other than the Hamptons.
Village Center has another pool.
Maybe I'm thinking of another one. Thank you.
Further discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved. Public hearing, consider the request of Pillar Bar to rezone property located 2128 Sumter Street from CB Preferred Commercial District to R1 Single Family. This property is owned by Pillar Bar. I'll need a second reading of ordinance 152270, Mr. Walters.
This is the second reading of the ordinance that you just gave this ordinance with rezone property located at 2128 Sumter Street from CP, which is preferred commercial office district, to R1 single family district. This would need a roll call vote.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of ordinance number 15-2270.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye.
Admiral Natter?
Aye.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Skelton?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye. Next, we'll have a public hearing to consider the following requests. We'll do them one at a time. With Burr Foreman LLP representing United States Steel Corporation. First hearing will be on rezoning 25.8 acres, more or less, of vacant land on South Shades Crest Road from Trace Crossing PI Plan Light Industrial to PC Plan Commercial. This property is owned by the United States Steel Corporation. Mr. House, you have the floor.
Yes, this is a request to go from planned industrial to planned commercial, as you stated. Property is located in Trace Crossings PUD. It's currently zoned planned industrial zoning, which permits warehousing, woodworking shops, printing establishments, light industrial, fabricating, assembly, and manufacturing uses. Proposed district of planned commercial will allow a variety of retail uses. Staff recommends 4 conditions be subject to approval of this adoption of this ordinance. First being, the detailed plan shall be submitted by the applicant in order for the city to determine compliance with all development regulations and codes. The traffic study shall be submitted by the applicant, approved by the city engineer. The recommendations of the study should be implemented by the applicant prior to issue of a certificate of occupancy for a building on the subject property. Second item deals with potential appearance of gasoline service stations which could be constructed on the property. All canopy bands shall not be internally illuminated except for permitted signs. Neon and LED strips or accent lighting should not be permitted on the canopy band. Canopy lights shall be recessed in the canopy. Third item deals with general or exterior light fixtures in general. Maximum height of exterior light fixtures shall be 24 feet. Fixtures shall be designed to cast light down on the premises and away from residential areas. And item number 4 limits any gasoline service stations may be developed on the property to not more than 6 pumps.
Okay. Those are Foreman or United States Steel like to speak in favor of their proposal?
Give us your name and address, it helps.
Justin Armstrong, 610 Preserve Parkway, Suite 200, Hoover, 35226. As we've kind of worked through this and trying to kind of get the full picture on what's taking place today, I felt it'd be best if we started kind of with the history of where we came from to how we got to where we are today. And part of that history is the fact that the PUD for Trace Crossings was created in 1987. So it's been quite a few years since this PUD was created. And I imagine, you know, if I was creating the PUD back then, I would have looked at this property and said, well, here's 2 rail lines running along the side of it. There's a highway here. So best use industrial. Well, as time has gone by and this area has matured, we no longer feel and believe that that use is conducive to the neighborhood the way it's run. As Mr. House stated, the property is not just PI or light industrial, it's PI restricted. So we're limited to industrial users that we can sell it to. Excuse me. He stated some of those uses, some of them are not very savory. I don't think that would be a good fit for what's taking place out there the past 20-something years. But it's also important to state that property can be sold today for that use. The city can't prevent it as long as it meets the requirements that are set in place. That's a use that is permitted and therefore it can be sold and used for an industrial type use. You know, today we are asking for the property to be rezoned. We're not asking for a development plan to be approved, and I think it's important to state that because the two can very easily get mixed together. So, you know, as the project moves forward, if it did, then the developer, purchaser, buyer would have to come to the city with a plan that would therefore be taken over by the engineers that would look at it and scrutinize it and make sure that it meets all the requirements that are set forth by the city's regulations. You know, so I think with that in place, these two processes, you know, that it's a rezoning and then an approval later for a development plan need to be understood that they are separate processes. On top of the city's requirements that need to be met, as Mr. House stated, this property is in the Trace Crossings PUD, so therefore it falls under the Trace Crossings Association. So it must meet all the covenants, conditions, and restrictions that the Trace Crossings Association has in place. So it's a second layer that it must go through, and also the ARC approval before anything can be developed. So I think that's important to know that there's 2 layers of approval and oversight on a project. You know, some of the concerns that we have heard and voiced are traffic. We've had a full traffic study done, and the facts show that the overall level of service remains at an acceptable level. Mr. Skipper is here, who performed the traffic study, and he is available to answer any questions that you may have from the council. And also the improvements that are suggested in the traffic study, we are okay with. We see no issue with those. A concern also that's been verbalized is vacancy in the area. Although a potential user in mind would not compete with those, it's still a concern that's been raised. So I've reached out to the leasing agency at the most closely associated retail center and asked for an update on activity. Currently, the building closest to the site is fairly vacant, but currently they also have 6,000 square feet that is spoken for. They have a lease that is on the way to be signed and one is under review. So there is space being filled currently. And then the other building, there's 2 bays that are vacant. And the agent believes through their projections, activities, conversations that by the end of the year, each building will only have 1 vacancy in each of them. So as you take a right and move down the road, you've got Shades Crest Plaza where the subway is. There's 0 vacancy there. Lake Crest Plaza where Cajun Cleaver is, there's 1 vacancy there. And then the UAB Clinic where the 2-story retail facility, office retail, there's 1 vacancy in there. So as an overall picture of vacancy, it's quite limited and is actually on the upswing for occupancy. Another concern would be USS future involvement in the development, and I think it needs to be stated that we're vested and invested in Trace Crossings. So our intent in anything we do moving forward is to better the neighborhood. We don't want a black eye on it. So we are seeking to do something that we believe is in best interest of the neighborhood and not selling to an industrial user. I've also had the opportunity to speak with a number of citizens in the community and organizations or boards that represent those citizens. So I've taken the steps with anybody that has voiced concern to me and I've been able to reach out to. I've approached them personally, directly, and talked with them and tried to communicate the facts that I'm communicating tonight. And then, really lastly, you know, the concern is, well, why have you sold it to an industrial user already? Well, like I stated earlier, we don't believe that's the best use. So we're not going to sell a piece of property if we don't believe it's the best use. But I think it's also important to know that we're obligated to do what we are obligated to do. So we hope and believe that we can get a zoning that is more favorable and conducive and conforming to the current neighborhood in Trace Crossings and Shades Crest.
Quick question, is currently someone have an option on this if rezoned?
Yes.
Questions from the council?
Where does the roadway rating for South Shades Crest as it currently sits? You know, all streets are rated by the letter of the alphabet. Where does this rating from?
It's okay, Mr. Stewart.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a real brief overview, if you don't mind, Mr. Smith, and then I will make sure I address that. If you don't, remind me, okay? My name is Gerald Skipper, 3644 Van Road, Birmingham. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Alabama. So for those based in the southeast, we performed the traffic impact study under contract to USS and have presented that to the city and received comments. We've amended our report and submitted it back to them. Let me just talk in general what we did do and some of the things we didn't do in looking at this traffic study. Actually, what you do when you look at a traffic study is you look at what's out there today and what will be in the future, and the differential is the impact. And then, are there any roadway traffic control improvements you can make to mitigate that impact? One of the things about this piece of property, what has been shown on the preliminary site plan that you've been presented, the preliminary development plan, would be 2 accesses to the property. One would go through the traffic signal at Brock's Gap and create a 4th leg to that intersection. The other intersection is being proposed as an access about 700 feet north of there on the north end of the property. Also, one of the things that they have done, and was the basis for the traffic study we've done, is limited the retail development to 50,000 square feet, which is more than, a lot less than the property could be developed as general retail. And then a gasoline service center with 6 pumps. Now remember, a pump, you can fuel on both sides of it, so it's actually 12 fueling stations, but it's 6 pumps. So don't anybody think that we're shortchanging this. We did estimate that. In looking at this particular intersection, regardless of the use of the land, if it's residential, if it's industrial, no matter what it is, anybody that develops that land is going to want to come into that and create a 4th leg to that signal. Why not? It's easy to get in and out. There's a good bit of traffic on Shades Crest Road. And by virtue of creating that 4th leg to the intersection, regardless of what the use is the primary impact on the traffic in that area. Because quite frankly, if you put another leg on it, you've got to allocate some signal timing to it. It's got to come from somewhere. So that is what the impact is adding the fourth leg. Now, in doing that, we forecast the amount of traffic that general retail is estimated to cover that. Now, 50,000 square feet of just general retail is one thing. There are other things that could go on it. So what we looked at was the amount of traffic that our industry forecast for different uses. And we chose to use a supermarket because it's about 25% higher than general retail. So that's what we use as a basis to be a little more conservative and take a little worse look. Currently, Mr. Smith, the traffic that is, when you start taking a look at the traffic that would come to this, gasoline facilities like to be located on facilities that have traffic on them already, and there's a good reason for that. Because the gasoline traffic relies on traffic that's there and taking advantage of it. And we found that during the morning and afternoon peak hour, it's as much as 50 to 55% of the traffic that's going to be going to that to get gasoline is already on the road. Now, some of it's brand new traffic, no question about it. Of course, you buy gas like I do, I find the lowest number on the sign, and that's where I go to get my gasoline, and it's generally on the way to work on the right or on the going home side, as we always put it. A grocery is the same thing, but not quite as much. A grocery likes to locate on a roadway that has a good bit of traffic. And we found that about 42% of the traffic, whether it's the morning or the afternoon peak hour, this traffic is already out there. You're capturing from the stream. It could be that you're just capturing it because it's on the going home side. It could be that you're capturing it from another place that someone would buy groceries in another jurisdiction or whatever. Instead of working downtown and buying something on the way there, you buy something here. So you're intercepting that. Today, the intersection is all of the approaches on to that intersection, morning and peak hour, are generally running A's, B's, and C's, depending on the approach. Is what they're running right now. The Brock's Gap side is running D's in the morning and afternoon. That's what it's running today, based on the amount of time it's allocated. Southbound is running A in the morning, B in the afternoon. Northbound A in the morning, B in the afternoon. When we add the fourth leg, whether it's residential, industrial, or commercial, whatever it's going to be, the Brock's Gap will be somewhat unaffected. Northbound would go from a B to a BB, depending on whether it's morning and afternoon. Southbound would be the leg that's most affected. And the reason it would be most affected is because you remember the way it works now, you've got the left turn on the Brock's Gap. And the time for the southbound traffic gets its time plus the time for the southbound left. But when you add that fourth leg, it doesn't get that time. So you're going to get some additional delay. Currently, we're running A's in the morning, B's in the afternoon. In the morning, we'd be running, continue to run A's just because of the volume of southbound. In the afternoon, we'd be running D's, which is acceptable during the peak hour. So it still falls within acceptable ranges. That's a quick summary. The improvements we're talking about making and have recommended for any access, we've recommended that if there are two accesses to it, the primary access at Brock's Gap is there'll be a northbound left turn lane added. The right turn going to Brock's Gap would have to be reconstructed, making sure it's got adequate width to get that slug of traffic that's going to the school in the morning and the afternoon. Also, there needs to be some changes on Brock's Gap so that if you are on Brock's Gap, you want to turn right to go back up to 150, we don't block you by somebody that's wanting to come across and go to the development. Also, southbound, there will be a right turn lane constructed based on the speed and the amount of traffic. Second access, which I said is about 700 feet away, we recommended that be a right in, right out. And it also have a southbound right turn lane into it so that anyone turning into the development going north or south would have its own lane and not get in the same lane that traffic is currently going back and forth. It's a real 2-3 minute overview, and I hope I addressed your question, Mr. Smith.
Did you state that a portion of the day is a day?
Afternoon peak hour.
Afternoon peak hour.
Yes.
And what is the most unfavorable rating that the road could have?
An F. We have A, B, C, D, E, and F. And in an urbanized area, which is part of an urbanized area, peak hour we rate them as acceptable from a D C, B, and A. E and F are unacceptable.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Skipper?
Yes.
What other areas in the city have D ratings for the roads?
You got a few minutes?
No?
150 and 459 is a D, is below D, it's worse than that.
Local
State and-
roads.
Yeah, State and Trace at 150. There are a lot of intersections that during the peak hour do have D ratings. It's not unusual to have D because you have that slow of traffic, either going to work or coming home. By the way, we did take a look to see the school times, to see what was the worst case scenario. We do have an elementary close to us, we've got a high school, we've got a middle school close to us. We looked at the afternoon peak associated with going to and coming from the school in the afternoon, and the time period associated with the commuter peak later in the day was far worse than an afternoon's peak for the school, so we didn't do that analysis. We felt like the afternoon peak for the commuter was representative of the worst case situation.
Mr. Skipper?
Yes.
Piggybacking on Admiral Matter's question, are there any residential feeder roads that have a D rating? And I'm calling this a residential feeder road because there's so many neighborhoods turn in and off of it.
Caldwell Mill, Batterdale, County Road 52, which is Morgan Road, right there at you. Shades Crest, the other side of 150, for sure, because there's two lanes.
Morgan Road's outside the city, so
Right.
I don't know that we count.
It's in the area, and somebody might have familiarity with that. There are a good many roads, though, that do have, although they're acceptable, they're still in the D range.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Skipper, one of your recommendations was to widen this road?
To install a northbound left turn lane on Shades Crest Road so that you can turn into the development without getting in the way of the throughs. Also, when you do that, you normally would symmetrically widen, so you'll need to improve, reconstruct the northbound right that turns you onto Brock Scalp Road.
So what do we do about the bridge?
Actually, the widening, there's plenty of room from the last bridge structure up to the intersection to accommodate the widening. One of the things that there is the road is in a horizontal curvature, so you use some of the horizontal curvature to actually accommodate that widening.
There's some questions from Mr. Skipper.
Thank you, Mr. Skipper.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
U.S. Steel or Burr Foreman have anything else they'd like to say on their behalf? Those who'd like to speak in opposition, we'll hear now, but I would make the notation that we only like to make the same point once. It's a negative comment on the project. So we'd be glad to hear any opposition to the project, but we'd like to just hear it one time, not have 6 people say the same thing. Yes, sir. Can you just state your name and address for the record, please? And we'll let this one go.
Good evening. My name is John Salzman. I'm the Vice President, Willow Lakes Homeowners Association. I reside at 1122 Park View in Hoover in the Willow Lakes subdivision. We are the closest neighborhood to this planned construction. We are just over the railroad bridge into the neighborhood right there behind South Shades Crest Elementary School. While we would join all homeowners in wishing that the property under rezoning consideration in South Shades Crest Road would stay undeveloped, we realize that USS has the right to sell their property for development. We understand that change is hard, and people don't like to change, but change is coming, and as pointed out earlier, we do see a value of commercial other than industrial zoning. We feel that by accepting into commercial, it'll allow, be for something that's acceptable to the area. Having said that, though, we do have several concerns that we'd like the board and the council to consider during the final approval for this development. As I mentioned, we back up to the property, so we have homeowners that do reside in an area right behind that area. So the area of lighting and a buffer zone would be important for those residents, so that again, because if it's something that the light hits that area, or it's something when you're looking out your back window, you're able to see the store that's up there, that's certainly going to affect property values. And we just feel it's critical to have controlled lighting and also, a line of sight buffer zone. Regarding the gas station that was addressed, within a 2-mile range, this would be the 5th gas station in that area. There's currently 2 down towards Ross Bridge, and then there's the Shell station right at the intersection of 150 and South Shades Crest Road, and then you have the Chevron station down near Lake Crest. There are approximately, within that 2-mile radius, and it's actually a little bit less than that, there are 62 pumps currently today. The main thing that we do have concern about is the traffic, especially being in the neighborhood where the school is, and from a person that leaves that neighborhood in the morning at approximately 7:15, between this, we get traffic that comes in from going to South Shades Crest, you get traffic that comes in from Lake Cyrus, and then you get the commuters on 150 that's going down to work. There are numerous times where that road is backed up, as far as I can see, up to Russell Woods. And then when you can make that left-hand turn, South Shades Crest Road heading up, and you're sitting in traffic, getting to the Brock's Gap light, and then on to the next light. Just as it was mentioned that the property is looking to change because 20 years ago, that was geared. There might be a good thing out there. There was nothing there. 20 years later, the infrastructure and the roads haven't changed in there. And something else someone mentioned, the bridge. In the traffic study, there's going to be approximately, from what we've heard, 100 additional cars, both in the morning and the afternoon. Giving that traffic, the pattern, that is going to increase that again from going home in the evening and from driving out in the morning. To eliminate some of that traffic and the bottlenecks, we'd like to give consideration while this construction is going on, that the construction equipment, heavy trucks, are limited to after 8:30 in the morning, so that the schools have a chance to get in, and prior to 4:30 in the afternoon as traffic starts to come back home. This will eliminate some of the bottlenecks. The other thing, down by the bridge that we talked about, that's over the railroad tracks, there have been numerous accidents in that area. And as we now add more traffic, to the point where there was one this morning down by the shooting range in that same area at 10:30 this morning. So we need to have something done to that road. And I know they talked about the widening the lanes, but the turning lanes, I think that also having that area increased to 4 lanes is that, as Russell Woods has continued to grow, South Point's continued to grow, Russian Park has come in over the years, all these neighborhoods have come in, yet the infrastructure of 2 lanes has remained the same all these years. The school continues to grow. We have the 5th grade school now back in Lake Cyrus. We have high school traffic as that continues to grow. So we feel that the widening of the road will allow parents for safe pickup, and then pickup and delivery of elementary students. And the widening of the road is something that's needed now, and we really feel it's needed prior to construction starting. I do want to take a minute to thank Justin for coming out. He did come over and speak to the board. We had some questions. He came out and spoke with us. Did help answer a lot of questions. Helped us make us understand what they was looking at. Helped a lot. But again, for us, the lighting in the buffer zone, the gas stations, and the traffic, the key piece, is a critical area for what we're concerned about.
Thank you.
Questions?
John, if I could say, your comments about widening the road, that is a county road, whether it be in Jefferson or Shelby County, and is maintained as such. And to my knowledge, the last that I understand that either county indicated is that they didn't have any plans or funding at this time to be able to do any widening or to even offer any type of a match to the city. So just want to let you know.
Now, how would that affect the ability to add turn lanes and things like that? Would that be separate from the county, since it would still be that same county road?
Well, the applicant would be putting that in themselves.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good evening, afternoon. My name is Al Dixon. I'm a resident of 6512 Oak Crest Cove. It's a community on South Shades Crest. I'd like to just express a couple of concerns that, at least from my community, that we've had. I think the individual has already, the gentleman before me has already spoken to some of the major concerns, but my concerns are more so in reference or relation to an actual question. And that's in regards to if this particular traffic impact assessment has actually taken into consideration traffic accidents, how they stand today. Because as a frequent commuter of South Shades Crest, I see a lot of accidents and a lot of fender benders, a lot of rear ends happening. And my concern is putting something, that's off of Sage Crest that will draw people's attention away from actually paying attention to what's in front of them or what, may be crossing the street or, something along those lines. So my first question is to U.S. Steel, have they taken into consideration traffic accidents? How that will increase or decrease as an amount of putting more construction on this road? My second is, what are the traffic conditions going to be during the construction time? Is there an assessment for that? Has that been taken into consideration? So if the rating right now is a D, what will it be during construction? How would that play into safety? So those type of things are really, should be taken into consideration by U.S. Steel and also by the committee, because we have concerned citizens about the traffic flow that's on U.S. Steel as it stands today. Also, I was sitting there listening and hearing about the ratings, a D, C minus. How is that going to look if right now where we stand today is that 150 is a D minus? And during the afternoons, it's a D minus on South Shades Crest. Is that immediately making it F? Those are my questions to U.S. Steel. How is this going to impact us during the construction? What is it going to do to safety? I know as a frequent commuter at 8 a.m. and at 5 o'clock after I get off, my personal assessment, and I know he stated C and the traffic conditions could potentially get better, most of the times I see it as a D. So that's with me being on there every single day. So I'm not sure what goes into this impact analysis, but those are the questions I would like to propose to them, because I don't see with constructing this new area that it would actually lower anything, especially if you're not talking about widening the road. So those are my concerns in form of a question. Have traffic accidents been taken into consideration? Have we done any study on the amount of traffic accidents that have occurred over the last year or 2 years, et cetera? As an example, I saw a flipped vehicle on there on Saturday, and it looked like a mother and her child right out in front of where you turn in to go to the school, South Shades Crest School. So has that been analyzed at all? And have we taken in consideration the rating that it will fall to after or during the construction? I can only imagine what traffic conditions are going to actually look like when we look at pulling 18-wheelers on to South Shades Crest. And the last is also just the safety ratings in general. Have we taken that into consideration? Again, my name is Al Dixon, Oak Crest Cove Community.
Mr. Skipper, if you'd like to address those questions to the best of your ability.
If the council wishes me to address any questions you have concerning their comments, I'd be glad to.
If you just answer Mr. Dixon's questions, the best of your knowledge and ability.
As far as traffic during construction, as a part of the permitting process, whether it be the city or Jefferson County, does require that the applicant submit a traffic handling plan during construction. One of the things I'm very familiar with Hoover, is very familiar with Jefferson County, is they will not allow you to do is close a lane during your peak hours of operation. So you've got to be very careful on how you stage that construction so that you are not impeding traffic during the commuter peaks, school peaks, and things of that nature. Good example is a project that we were involved in on 280. We did all the work at night to minimize the impact on the traveling public, and this will have to be done the same way, knowing the Hoover requirements and Jefferson County requirements. As far as looking at safety, pre and post, intertwined into the description of a rating on a roadway, whether it's an A, a B, a C, or D. An A is the safest road. An F will be the most unsafe road. The conditions are there, and that's when you have more people on the road, your gaps that people are looking for in traffic to allow you to make lefts and rights and things of that nature. By virtue of that, the safety rating goes down on the road where the rating goes down. Now, one of the things we try to do statewide and in all of our practices is what we call access management. We look at the accidents that are most prevalent on the roadway, the accidents that are most prevalent that are the left turning traffic off the side road onto a main road. Those account for almost 50% of all the accidents at an intersection. The other accidents, the largest number, are the accidents off the main road turning left through non-signalized location, another 24% of those. So what we try to do in setting up a development like this is we want all those lefts that are coming off the development roadway, off the development itself, the lefts that are occurring, I want them to occur out of traffic system because they're safer there than they are at unsignalized locations. Same thing would be with the lefts. One thing you had mentioned today, the bridges. The first rail track is covered by, there's a tunnel where it goes under the roadway, and the tunnel actually is daylighted several hundred feet back from Shades Crest. The southernmost is a bridge that goes over that rail track. And we'd be widening over that tunnel, but it would go back toward that first bridge. So it's not that first structure. And if you look at the proposed site plan, that is pretty close to that tunnel there. Now, when I say close to the tunnel, we're not going to dig down and hit the tunnel. It'll just be over it as the roadway is today. So I might have misstated that. I wanted to make sure I was clear.
Additional questions in opposition to the project? We got one gentleman here first.
I'm Ken McElhaney, reside in Creekside, 5432 Creekside Lane. I've been residing there for 8 years. And I'll try not to take too much time because I know you folks have had a long afternoon. But I'll try to hit the high points and move right along. Many years ago, I heard a motivational speaker. Some of you have heard of him, Earl Nightingale. He's passed on at the young age of 68 back in 1989. And one of his quotes was, "Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal or worthy goal." And you folks in Hoover are certainly to be commended for that, as well as USS Real Estate, in fulfilling a good, worthy goal. We chose to live here, move here in 2007 because of grandchildren. And one of them is in South Shades Crest Elementary. I was over there this afternoon to pick them up and involved in all the traffic and everything. But anyhow, that's the situation, and they live down on South Shades Crest, about a mile below Hoover, below Morgan Road. And it is just a terrible situation. My daughter says they have a problem getting to work and all that every morning. Of course, that's nothing new. But the point is, Hoover, I feel like, has done a great job in providing a senior center library, Moss Rock Preserve, parks, on and on and on. And they've done a great job of it, and we certainly appreciate that. But, on the other hand, had it not been for citizens moving here, there would be no need to provide these services, or no need for USS Real Estate to provide properties for people to buy. So it's actually a win-win situation. We work together. And one of the issues that really need to be considered is the question, is there a need for this project? And I don't think there's anybody in this room, maybe with the exception of one or two, that would say, yes, there's a need. Because there's 6 gasoline stations, convenience stores within less than 2 miles. And you've got a Sprout grocery opening in April. You've got Target, you've got Publix, and Publix is in a development that was done by USS Steel, but it would not have been done if it was not a need. So anyhow, the bottom line is, you've got a bottleneck on this road. Everybody knows that. There was a fatality at this intersection. A young lady, 14 years old, on the way to Hoover High School, and there are 5 schools in the area that school buses come through here all the time, down Roxy up Parkway, all that. So we all know that. 5 schools that have school buses coming through there. In addition, you've got the emergency room opening, which I'm very thankful for. We're less than a mile and a half from the emergency room. But that is going to create some emergency traffic. Who knows how much? I don't know. But there will be some. So there's going to be emergency traffic. And then talking about accidents, there was an accident there Saturday between Rocks Gap and the interstate. As I understand, a friend of mine said there was a car turned over there. So it is a dangerous situation. And there are many vacancies, like somebody's already mentioned, in the Grove Shopping Center, as well as a vacant bank. So we really have got plenty of commercial that needs to be taken care of. And somebody mentioned about 18-wheelers. You don't want 18-wheelers coming in and out of an industrial area. Well, how do you think that the grocery store and the gasoline station, how do you think they're going to be supplied? By 18-wheelers. So you've got 18-wheelers regardless, either way. But anyhow, there's, like I say, there's really no need. So my third point, and there's a traffic problem. My third point is, where is there a need? And I have researched it and looked around. There's a need for this type of development at South Shades Crest and Highway 52, Morgan Road. It begs for development. They don't have any real shopping within a 2-mile stretch to I-459 or back toward Pelham. There's over 3 or 4 miles to Pelham and Helena. So there is a real need there. And to get right down to it, you're going to be duplicating or just pulling tax dollars from other places to this location. But there you'll pick up some cross traffic and pick up additional tax revenues. Another place there's a need for this is on over toward the golf course off 150. There's a 4-mile stretch there that there's no shopping on, approximately 4 miles. So they need something like this over there. But right at this location, we really don't need it. The road's maxed out, so as an alternative, I did some research and found that a good project, wonderful project, that Hoover was involved in back in 2007, 2008, in which they bought 79 acres of land to prevent an apartment complex going in. $4.4 million. And then they bought 20 acres of land for $500,000, totaling 99 acres, and it was added to Moss Rock Preserve, which I don't have a problem with that. That's fine, that's wonderful. My suggestion is this, for the Hoover City Council to consider buying that 26 acres. Make it a hiking park, hiking trails, and work with the YMCA for them to use that in promoting health and healthy outdoor activities. And then too, people could use it to prepare for a longer trek, say the Appalachian Trail or so. And then as you come into Trace Crossings, on the right and the left, both is zoned light industrial. The topo of the land, an industrial developer would be out of his mind to try to put an industrial situation in there. So buy that property, donate those 2 pieces of land on each side of Rock Gap Parkway, and enhance the value of the city of Hoover and enhance the value of USS Steel's development in Trace Crossings. Keep the 26 acres for a hiking park. You've got green area both sides. You've got something to really sell people on additional sales points in Trace Crossings. Say, look, this is we've reserved this for green development here and hiking a park. So that's an alternative that I have. It's a win-win situation. The Hoover, and some that's been referred to as what's best for Hoover, we've got to ask ourselves, who is Hoover? It's not an entity out there that's just sitting there. The Hoover is comprised of all the citizens of Hoover. So this is a win-win for the citizens of Hoover. It's a win for the USS Real Estate. They sell their land. They go buy something else to sell to the developer in an area that has a need. So therefore we really accomplish a lot. And everybody's happy, you know. So that's my idea. And let's remember that let's have a situation where we are working toward, progressing toward a worthy goal or an ideal. So I appreciate your time. I know it's getting late. Thank you very much.
Sir, did you indicate that your daughter lived a mile the other side of?
Yes, in Grand Oak subdivision. It's in Hoover.
Is it off 93?
Well, I don't know what number the.
It's not off South Shades Crest.
Yes, it is. Grand Oak. Right. On
There's
just
something
past
down
Silver
there on the
Lakes.
left.
It's just past Silver Lakes on the left.
On the left side.
Yeah.
I thought, hell,
But it's in Hoover, and also these 2 pieces of property there on the north side of Morgan Road at South Shades Crest, they're both in the city limits of Hoover. And then USS Real Estate, they bought 2 acres of land on Stadium Trace Parkway that's going to be voted on to rezone to resell. So, I mean, you know, go buy some land and work with this developer to put this project where it's needed.
Thank you, sir. You answered my question.
Pardon?
Thank you, sir. You answered my question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm Frank Raby. I live at 5704 Moss Trace in the Glen of Willow Lakes. I've been there for 10 years. My concern today is, I was very excited several years ago when I read in the paper there was a discussion of linking Brock's Gap to Walls Bridge Parkway and the potential for an interstate exit, which would help us all as I live on South Shades Crest immensely. How does this project affect that potential? Because it looks like to me, based upon the plan I saw, the grocery store would be sitting right in the middle of where that road would go through there.
So the city withdrew the engineering funds for that project, so it currently does not exist.
Okay. So we're stuck, huh? That's one of the things. Right now, I don't know how many afternoons you've been on this intersection, down this road, but right now, between the Brock's Gap light and the Willow Lake light, traffic will back up through the 150 intersection where those people cannot turn down South Shades Crest Road. And I can show you where I left my neighborhood coming here tonight. I can show you a photograph on my cell phone where traffic was bumper to bumper all the way at 5 o'clock in front of this development. So if you add 2 more cars, you're now going to have a total mess at the intersection of Shades Crest and 150. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Brett Steele. I'm at 1665 Shades Point Drive, just up from the planned development. A couple of comments. I noticed the gentleman, in terms of vacant properties, failed to mention, or at least I didn't catch it, apologize if I didn't, certainly the Grove and the Target Shopping Center area, as well as what I believe is the old Winn-Dixie building that I'm not sure is vacant, but there's certainly never a car in that parking lot in any time of the day. Both of those front rows that are much more equipped to handle some type of commercial establishment than South Shades Crest ever would be. A couple of comments on the traffic I don't think that necessarily has been made. I have 2 kids, both attended South Shades Crest Elementary, and I have one that's at Brock's Gap and one's at the high school. I know on multiple occasions we received emails home from the school at South Shades Crest when my kids were there, and keep in mind they're now 1 year and 4 years out, that tardies would not be counted because we could not get all the students to that school in a reasonable amount of time in the morning because of the traffic. That is a fact. That has happened on multiple occasions. I also am aware, I come out of my neighborhood and I head down South Shades Crest toward 150. There is a subdivision called Hoover Ridge there, and I'm aware that from the hours of approximately 7 o'clock in the morning till 8:30 in the morning, the cars traveling down South Shades Crest stop traffic in the middle of the road to let 1 car at a time out of that Eden Ridge. And it doesn't take a traffic study to say there will be a death at that intersection, because those cars barreling down that hill and barreling up that hill, and those people leaving that intersection at an angle, having to try to get onto South Shades Crest in that type of traffic, there will be a death at that intersection in the next 5 years. I have no doubt about it. I pray to God it's not my 15-year-old daughter that will be now getting her driver's license next year. That is a difficult stretch of road to navigate. It is narrow. There are areas on that road that, buddy, you're off the road 6 inches, you're in a ravine. That's a problem. That's a problem. So no disrespect to the gentleman, but to the comment made that traffic will remain at an acceptable level, I want the council to know the traffic is not currently at an acceptable level. The question, has anyone considered the fact that our Board of Education has talked about canceling bus service? Now, I know that's in all state of disarray, but the fact of the matter is, if you were to cancel bus service in this city, you would add an exponential number of cars to the schools. And you got 5 schools within 5-mile block area to try to service with those additional cars. Has that been considered at all? And how that may affect the plans of our Board of Education and what's going to be done there. Lastly, I just want to make a comment. The comment was made that the road is owned by the county or there's some, whatever. I also am aware that I travel up 150 and down that road, and the sewer smell is horrific in the summer and the winter, and I've been made aware that that problem is the county's. So we all know the county has no money. The county is not going to fix that problem, so we live with it. And so we're sitting here today saying if the road is the county's problem, the county has no money, and we will live with it. So if the council so decides to allow this to happen, I would encourage you to let the developer put their money where their mouth is. They're going to benefit, okay, from the revenue of that development, okay, and they stand to make a lot of money, because people don't do these kinds of things unless they stand to make a lot of money. And if they're going to make a lot of money on it, have them 4-lane South Shades Crest. Have them widen the road. Have them do it all the way to Norton Road and all the way past that. So if they want to do that and they want to lessen the impact on the community, and if they're here for the community, they will gladly step up and add that to any provision they do to build there. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Hey, my name is Monica Dixon. I live at 6512 Oak Crest Cove, Hoover 35226. My biggest concern, I guess everyone has spoken about the traffic, but my biggest concern is the current road condition of South Shades Crest. To me, when I look at South Shades Crest Road, it looks more like a county road or maybe like a country residential road. The road is already a 2-lane, and the size of the road, the side median of the road is not very wide as it is, and there's already potholes. My concern about that is, of course, safety, because you're going to be adding additional traffic to the road, but when you add additional traffic and they're trying to get to this commercial area that is off the corner of South Shades Crest, then you have traffic coming from Morgan Road, which is already at a low rating, at a D rating, South Shades Crest, which is at a D rating, and 150. So if the roads are a county concern, then what do we do about the upkeep of those roads? Because as the roads begin to deteriorate even more, then we also have traffic and more safety issues. I understand that there was a traffic study done, and not to go back and repeat anything that was already said, but the traffic study says that that area is in an acceptable range. This morning I left my house in Oak Crest Cove at 6:40. I realized I was also going on 150, but it took me from 6:40 to 7:08 just to get onto the actual interstate. I did not stop. I continued on, but that is bumper to bumper traffic, and that was at 6:40 in the morning. So I guess my biggest concern is on safety in the current road conditions. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Lawson. I live at 1821 Red Oak Place in Hoover in Whispering Oak subdivision. Of all these that have spoken here tonight regarding this rezoning issue, I guess I'm the longest resident down there because I've been in my subdivision going on 27 years. And with that in mind, I have seen tremendous growth on the South Shades Crest Road. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. There's houses for sale strictly on South Shades, and they're not selling. And I know the economy is one of them, but the traffic that's on there, people don't want to buy in that area. The South Shades Crest Road is like a speed trap. I mean, there are cars flying down there constantly, and I know the police try to stop them as much as they can, but they can't. On Friday, I sent an email to Margie Hanley expressing my concerns and my opposition for this upcoming rezoning and all that and what's going to take place. I got an email back from somebody named John, I don't know who it was. He said, "We understand your concerns, but we want to do the best for Hoover." My question to you is, who is Hoover? Is it the residents? Is it the businesses? Is it all of it? If it is, everybody needs to be taken into account. Thank you.
Good evening.
I'm Donald Barley. I live at 1608 Creekside Drive in the Creekside subdivision of Trace Crossings. We have been left out of this whole process. In the first place, I see where it should have been notified to people who were within 500 feet of that location. Well, there weren't any houses anywhere near that except these that they were talking about from Willow Trace. And I think that the zoning board, when they made their decision, I don't think they were thinking of realistic figures as far as what's happening on South Shades Crest and 150 and the combination of that and the Brock's Gap. My personal opinion, in hearing what I've heard tonight, the only way this would be feasible would be if it was 4-lane from 150 on down. And who's going to pay for the 4-lane of the bridge, the overpass going over 459 and the railroad bridge down there? Now they're going to do something, they're talking about to the railroad bridge, but who's going to pay for widening that 459 overpass to 4 lanes? Because if any of you have driven up 150 and tried to make a left turn onto South Shades Crest, you know it is an absolute nightmare. It is dog eat dog, trying to get around that corner and sift down into 1 lane of traffic to go past the Y and on down to the Brock's Gap light. I mean, these people drive these cars like, you know, no problem at all. But they're cutting in, like I know you're supposed to weed your way in gently, but they don't do that. They just come shot flying around the corner and pop in on when they're ready to go in, whether you're ready or not. And Brock's Gap is presently a speedway. It's a godsend that there are curves in it, but it is a speedway. In the morning, people from any of the subdivisions along Brock's Gap almost can't get out of their subdivision. The traffic is that bad, and Creekside, when you come out of it, the bend is up there, and those cars come around there, and you can't even see them. You can take a look and start out, and before you know it, there's another car coming down Brock's Gap. These high school kids are driving these cars, you know, they have no sense of responsibility as far as the speed limits. And as far as what Ken McElhenney recommended as far as it being purchased, the property being purchased by the city for a park and hiking trail, I think it would be wonderful if U.S. Steel would donate that to the city. After all, they've made lots of money on the developments that have been taking place in the city of Hoover. So it would be a wonderful thing if they would donate the property. And I think we would all be ahead of the game. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Bill Thomason. I live at 5327 Creekside Place. I'm one of the people who live in senior citizen city in the Trace Crossing area. Try to bring up 2 things that have not been brought up, and then I'll make it short. Number 1, if you put a service station there, you're fixing to mix school buses with 10,000-gallon gasoline tankers. I think you're looking for a disaster to happen. Second thing is, and I have not heard anything from, Trace Crossing has an extremely large residential association. If they've made a comment on this, I have not heard it tonight or seen it. One of the reasons may be because there's a conflict of interest here. The gentleman, Billy Silver, who signed the application for the change, is with USS Realty. He's also self-appointed president of the Trace Crossing Residential Association. The rest of the day, as far as I know, none of the residents were contacted about any comment on this change in law. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, I appreciate it. My name is Chad Eads. I live at 6255 Creek, Black Creek Loop North in the Creekside subdivision. Also live in Senior Citizen City. I plan on staying there for a while to meet that requirement. My biggest concern, or several of mine and my wife's concerns were, of course, our property value, selfishly our property value in our neighborhood that we, as a resident of Hoover for the past 8 years, we lived in another area for 6 years and then moved to this area looking for that safe location for that daughter who was getting close to driving age, for her leaving school. Bronx Gap Parkway is not the safest place I thought it was going to be for her to drive to school. It's a racetrack on most mornings. I'm the driver's ed teacher at Hoover High School, and my biggest concern are the safety of the children. As I drive with them, and they're the same type of drivers we were as young people. I'm partly responsible for that, maybe that poor driving, but it hasn't changed over our lifetime. And we continue as the great part of Hoover is the children are the most important part of our city. Everything about our city, the schools, the people, the parks, everything is about our children. And I just believe this new development puts many of our children in a more dangerous situation, selfishly including my own daughter. I'm with them each day. We have many young people. I have over 100 students a day that I go out at some point during the semester to drive with. And in our fairly simple small community, there's every situation. There's not enough time in their lifetime for me to teach them each driving scenario. And now we're adding another one within a neighborhood. But that's my biggest worry is for the students that I'm with every day. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any additional statements against?
Is the plan tenant the Walmart that got voted down in Bluff Park? Is that the tenant, Walmart?
There's no tenant on this proposal. This is to rezone from commercial.
But they have a signed tenant or agreement.
No, they don't.
No,
They have an
no.
option.
You don't need to come down and address this if you want to talk, please.
Okay, thanks.
Any rebuttal from U.S. Steel? Mr. Walter, if you read the ordinance.
This is ordinance 2015-2271. It would amend the zoning of approximately 25.8 acres from HUD to Trace, from P1 to Trace Crossings, HUD PC.
Mr. President, I move for denial of ordinance 15-2271.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion from council? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Leiter?
Aye.
Harold Batter?
Aye.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Shelton?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye. Motion's denied. It's crystal clear that Shades Crest Road needs to be four-laned. Regardless. South Shades Crest. Rezone 2.02 acres more or less at the intersection of State and Trace to Highway 150 from High Zone to Trace Crossings PUD. PC Plan Commercial Incorporated and Trace Crossings PUD. Plan and Development. It's a property owned by United States Steel. Second reading. Water.
This is number 15-2272. This ordinance amends the zoning of approximately 2.2 acres from NZ to Trace Crossings, PUD, PC.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of ordinance 15-2272.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the council? Discussion from the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Leiter?
Aye.
Admiral Batter? Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Skelton?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye, ordinance passes. Amend the Trace Crossing PUD parking requirements for planned commercial retail development at Trace Crossings from 5 per 1,000 square feet of retail space to 4.5 per 1,000 square feet of retail. Property is owned by United States Steel. I take a motion.
Mr. President, I move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion for the council?
Mr. President, Mr. House, what is the purpose of this reduction?
Bring the parking requirements in Trace Crossings on the same level as in Hoover C2. Y'all remember, you amended the ordinance in C2 a couple of years ago to require a little bit less parking in order to have more efficient development.
And this is zone C2.
Well, this is an amendment to the PUD parking requirements for everything in Trace Crossings in zone PC.
Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't here.
Additional comments from the council? Questions from the audience? Hearing none, clerk call no roll call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We set a public hearing for Monday, April 20th at 6. Consider the question for Maine and Karen Thompson for conditional use for allow live entertainment, sale of restaurant, retail liquor at the Perfect Note to be located at 1845 Montgomery Highway. That's in the suite down where Hobby Lobby is, in that building. Payment of bills, Mr. Smith.
Mr. President, I reviewed the bills and recommend they be paid in full as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bills are paid. Did we ever have, Mr. Pugh come in? See Mr. Pugh, Jim Pugh. Pugh, not from Mr. Tate. Thank you. Comments and questions from the council? Comments and questions from the audience? Hearing none, we're adjourned.